you want to look at what are the simple everyday habits that you can help instill into your clients.
Hey there, you're listening to the Online Business Clinic podcast, the place to be to build a profitable and portable business. I'm your host, business strategist Molly Ann Luna, and today we have the privilege of speaking with Mariana Ruiz, a certified business coach, international best-selling author, and the founder and CEO of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. Today, she's sharing with us how to fill your group coaching programs to impact more people while working less. Mariana, thanks for being here and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and record with you.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have you with us here because I know many of our parents are busy, or many of our parents, listen to me, tired parent brain right here. Many of our listeners are busy parents like us. Right now, you might be able to hear my son in the background who's trying to settle in for a nap. And I know you're a single mama of two yourself. So when it comes to really doing the work, stepping up, building that legacy, you got the tenacity, and I love it. And I know our listeners are definitely going to love your fresh perspective on what you have to share with us today. So my first question for you is that here at the Online Business Clinic podcast, many of the listeners are coaches or consultants, and in some capacity, many of them are still working in that one-to-one direct coaching model where they're just trading their time for money. Now, this can quickly lead to burnout. So I'm super eager to hear from you and to learn ways that they can generate more revenue. And just like you promised, helping them work less, earn more, make a bigger impact. So can you please give us a little insight as to why group programs are the way to go, as well as how one would maybe make that pivot into establishing this type of coaching opportunity for themselves?
Yeah, of course. So this is a common, struggle, frustration. Like as you're doing one-on-one work, you can get pretty bogged down. For me, what this looked like is I had 15 one-on-one clients, unlimited support on my phone, and it sounded great, except I had 2 kids under 2 at home, right? So, and at that time, no nanny because my daughter was going through some health stuff. So what I ended up doing is figuring out scaling through group programs. So the first thing you want to do is really schedule it in. I always say schedule in your scaling plan with your group program like a client. So if you treat it like you are the client and you're going to service yourself and you're going to actually take that time, block it off on the schedule. It's totally non-negotiable, non-reschedulable, no matter what. And then treat it like a client. And then in terms of how to do it, I think when we're doing one-on-one, what tends to happen is we can do a lot more general work. We kind of are bringing in clients in a more general way. So what I mean, it's not bad or wrong or anything. What I'm saying is when I was doing it, for example, I had clients who were coaches, some were selling products, some it wasn't very niched down in terms of what the businesses were. So it felt really hard to almost pigeonhole. It felt like this pigeonholing into a group program. And what I realized is that when we're doing it this way, you want to basically have a super specific marketing that's going to attract the right, the same type of person. And that's what you want to go for. So you're going to have to really work on that niching down to be able to do it. And I mean, sorry, I'm kind of diverting from the question. The question, and some of the question you asked was why are we doing this, right? Because you can go from working 15 hours servicing one-on-one clients plus any on-call time or additional coordination time to 1 hour a week. So that's why, in a nutshell.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think one-on-one coaching is powerful. I talk about this in my upcoming book called Step Up. And it's how I started my business. I was a personal trainer and took on one-on-one clients. And I was very successful with it. I grew that business from 0 to 6 figures in just under 6 months. However, I was being pulled in 15 different directions. If I had 15 clients, I'm pulled in 15 different directions, meeting them at that time slot, plus follow up and individualized, customized creations. And it just ended up being way more of a workload. And ultimately, I crashed and burned, and therefore my business crashed and burned because the one-to-one model only, can take you so far. You've got to bring in other elements. And I think a really smart strategy to help make that pivot is just like what you're talking about here today, is stepping into a group coaching opportunity. And I just want to, you mentioned something about specifically niching down. For me, that was really challenging in the beginning because I felt like, but I don't want to feel like I'm excluding anyone. But the truth is, like, we are only meant to serve so many people. And when you're deciding which people to serve, I think the best course of action, or at least the action I took, and I'd love to hear what steps you took. For me, I just looked at, okay, who are all of the different types of people I have served one-on-one in the past? And not necessarily who were my favorite people, but what characteristics or aspects about that experience did I love? And then that helped me narrow down. So then I could really target and pull together a group coaching opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. I also think people like underestimate the abundance that's out there, right? There's 7 billion people, right?
Let's
So,
say that it's 7 billion people, okay? And you don't need hundreds of thousands of them to have a profitable business.
right.
Good point.
Right. So like, even if you are like, servicing, I always like this example. Like, so I had a client who she was Wiccan, right? So her ideal client was witches who were queer, who wanted goddess circles. It is so unique, right? Like, that's not a person you run into on a daily basis, right? For most people. But however, it was so narrowed down, it was so specific. And she was able to get this. Within her first launch, she made a 5K monthly recurring, right? So, it's very doable because you've narrowed down. Now, if you look at the 7 billion people on earth, even if there was, even like 20,000 who match your ideal client, they're not all going to buy from you tomorrow, but you're more likely to be able to do that in a group program in terms of servicing them and scaling up from there.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So, a common concern that I have amongst my fellow legacy leaders is that they worry that they're not going to be able to provide that same level of care to the masses, to their group coaching program, even if it's a group coaching program of 8, 10, I don't know, so many people. So what advice do you have for them to still be able to service their clients on a high level as they scale?
Yeah, so the best advice I have here is to really look at what your ideal clients need. So for us in our program, I discovered that our clients really needed accountability and support in a one-on-one capacity. So then you problem solve. I'm going to serve in a group program, but I have coaches who work in a one-on-one setting in our group programs. So you can still offer the one-on-one high touch. It just does not have to be you executing on that piece. So that's how we've scaled and also brought in that aspect.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is you're bringing in team members, that you're delegating that level of customer care to coaches underneath. So you, as the business owner, as the visionary who's pulling this together, as the head coach, you're not having to spread yourself so thin. You're still providing that really high value, but in the group setting, and then delegating it down. I think that is such a smart strategy. That's so great. Curious to know, because one question that pops up all the time from my clients, and I'm curious to know your perspective here, is, pricing. Like, how do you decide what you're going to charge for your group coaching programs? And how can you take it into that premium space if you want to?
Yeah. So this is how you're going to take it into the premium space. So I want to say one more thing about that too. Like, your framework, your methodology is also a way that you can do it. So when you've gotten specific, you have the step-by-step that helps you to provide a high quality service, and it allows you to delegate to somebody else to do the one-on-one coaching. Then with premium charging, you do that because you've nailed down that methodology, right? So the methodology becomes how you create like a system, and that allows you to charge high end and as well as providing premium like services like the private coaching.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm curious to know then for our newbies out there who are feeling a little bit reluctant, they're like, okay, I get it. The one-to-one model can only take me so far. I think I might be ready to dip my toe into putting together a group coaching program. Can you expand upon how you're able to create consistent reoccurring revenue through this model?
Yeah. So the biggest mistake I see with the group programs is people are making them too short. So oftentimes in the marketing space, you see sell a 6-week program. That does very well online because it's the quick fix, it's all of that kind of stuff. However, with that model, you are having to do a launch at least every 6 weeks. And so you're relying launch to launch to launch that is going to do well. And I don't find that to be sustainable. We've done every 4 to 6 weeks launches, and it causes extreme burnout in my experience. So, what I have found to work better is extending the life of the program. In fact, there's actually evidence to support this that an actual habit formation, right? Like, if for most of us, if we just get somebody to change their habits, they'll be able to get a very significant result with our program. And so, there's evidence to show that habit formation can actually take over 200 days. There's an article in the New England Journal that covered this, and that the 21-day habit formation was actually just brought in by basically really good marketers, like hyped it up. And so that's what caused that kind of like myth stereotype of 21 days. So really extending the life of that program to like 6 months, 9 months, even a year, to be able to create that consistent recurring revenue for you, for the business owner, but also to really give the clients the opportunity to get full results and benefits from your program.
This is eye-opening to me. This is the first I've honestly heard about the 200-day mark, and I think this is a very smart strategy you're sharing here. Do you mind giving us an example of what that habit creation might look like within your group coaching program to get them eager and excited to want to show up every single month and continue to make that payment?
Yeah. So you want to look at what are the simple everyday habits that you can help instill into your clients. So for us, we recommend like a daily brain dump and working specifically on core action items within the business model that we teach. So I teach a business model. And so they're like working on that habit literally every day. And so I tell them it's like brushing your teeth. If you haven't done your brain dump, set up your day with this strategy that we teach, you're going to be reacting to your life instead of proactively creating your life. So that's like one way in which we do it. And then the framework again becomes what they're doing every day, right? So it's carefully crafted.
Incredible. So one of the key takeaways I'm getting here and reminding myself as well is that it doesn't have to be this big audacious thing. It's just keep it simple. Keep it simple and something that they can do daily, like brushing their teeth. That's great. I'd like to pivot a little bit here and kind of go back to, okay, great. You've sold us. We're ready. We've got it. We know that we've got to like schedule this out and get specific on who we want to serve and identify some habits and be able to create a prolonged program and charge those premium rates. I'm curious to know, once all of that groundwork's been laid, what strategies do you have for filling up these group coaching programs?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, if you've been selling whatever vehicle you're using to sell, I call them conversion events, but it's basically like sales calls, webinars, challenges, video series, summits, like however you've been selling stuff is how you're going to sell stuff again. Okay, so look at what you've done already in your business, what system you already have, and use that same sales system, because you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. Now, if you haven't been exploring with any launches of those kinds, do sales calls. They have high conversion rates. You don't need a ton of leads. I think people often confuse scaling the service side of the business, which is group coaching, with scaling the marketing side of your business, right? Those are two different tasks. And when you try to couple them together, you go into like, well, I don't have any idea what the service is going to look like. So therefore I have no idea what the marketing is going to look like. And then we like just scramble. Instead, work on the sales system you already have that's working for you. For most people selling one-on-one, that's sales calls. You don't need a ton of leads. You don't need it to be super complicated. Get on the phone, close the sales. Then maybe like second, third, fourth round, then you can start looking at scaling your sales section.
I love that you shine a light on this. In fact, in episode 50 of the Online Business Clinic, we talk about the higher conversion rate of sales calls. And I know that a lot of us have been like, yes, but this is the Online Business Clinic and we're all about doing online business. But when you are just starting out, when you're just giving birth, so to speak, to your coaching practice, to your group coaching program, jump on the phone, have those conversations and invite those ideal clients on board. That's so great. Curious to know, before we wrap this up, any other tidbits or strategies you have for our listeners today that we haven't covered yet?
Yeah, so the final one is to really do it as a North Star program. So if you're going to do this, right? So we call this North Star because it is what your focus is until you get this to six figures. Okay. So that's our definition of North Star program. You're going to keep selling this program until you get it to six figures. That's going to give you a fighting chance because when you're at six figures, you can hire team members, you can continue to scale, you can invest in more launching. Like there's so much that opens up for you once you've focused in, gotten the data and gotten enough people through it so that the program itself is highly profitable. So stick with it until it's, at six figures minimally before you scrap it. I think I've seen way too many people have run great programs once or twice and be like, I'm done. You can't do that. If you want this to be really, really successful, you can take the program to six figures, reevaluate, change things as you want, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. I'm not going to lie. I'm guilty of that in the past. Do not do that. Stick with what you've got, that thing that's earning you money, and see it to six figures before you make any pivots. So smart. Thank you for leaving us with that golden nugget. Mm-hmm. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you and your opportunities?
Yeah, so we have a podcast. It's called the Impact Driven Entrepreneur Podcast, where I help you to add 6 and 7 figures into your coaching practice. We also have a Facebook community that goes along with it. But I have a gift for you guys. It's a group coaching program checklist. So it's really like getting started with your group program, what you're going to want to have in place, and some of these bigger strategic things that you're going to want to iron out so that you can scale confidently. And you can get that at impactdrivenentrepreneur.com/group checklist.
Fantastic. Mariana, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It has been so wonderful having you here. And to our listeners, make sure you go grab that checklist. You can get all of the links and the additional information in our show notes over at mollyandluna.com/podcast. So that's all I've got for you this week. I'll plan on seeing you right back here, same time, same place next Monday. Bye for now. This episode is sponsored by Step Up, a guidebook that provides you with step-by-step instructions to help you start an online coaching business and turn your expertise into a money-generating machine. Get your copy today by heading to mollyandluna.com/step up.